Hi guys, how's it going? It's Sam here. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're doing our Facebook ads tutorial for 2025. Now, I did one of these last year, and I'm going to do one again going into 2025. So I'm talking about, I'm going to be walking you guys through creation of a Facebook ad. I'll be walking you guys through the business manager and going through all the updates that have kind of come since last year, since my last recording. So a few things have changed. I get a lot of questions, people asking, where should I go? What does this mean? What does that mean? Well, hopefully today in this video, I'm gonna cover all of those things. So here's what we're going to cover. We're gonna cover the business manager basics. So that is how to set up a business manager, how to get access to a page, how to share access to an employee, or even gain access to a client's ad account. So all of the basic stuff we're gonna cover first. We're going to go into the Facebook pixel, or data sets, as it's kind of called now. We're going to cover custom audiences. We're going to cover campaign setup. We're going to go through ad creatives. We're going to go through ad dimensions and what's changed. We're also going to cover things such as how to optimize your ad campaigns, how to test different ad sets, how to test different creatives, my testing strategies, and all of this kind of stuff, as well as tracking, how to optimize your ads manager so you can make it easier to kind of analyze your data, and also go through some basic stuff like ad budgets, what's changed since last year, and everything else that comes with it. Now, if you want access to my full Facebook ads course, which I've called the Meta Ads Vault, where you can even get your own ads previewed by a member of our team, we've got a full course which goes through everything that I'm covering today in more detail, goes through my testing strategy, how to write good ad copy, how to design good creatives, and how to get results for your clients, as well as much, much more. You can join my school group, which I'll leave a link to down below. Okay, now let's jump straight into the video. Okay, cool. So the first thing before we go any further, we're going to look at the structure of the business manager and the sort of Facebook Meta suite, as they call it. Now, not much has changed since last year when it comes to your business manager. You've got what a business manager is, which essentially is a suite which controls all of your assets. So if you're an agency who's running ad accounts, multiple ad accounts, or you've got access to multiple pages, what this basically does is it essentially separates that from your personal profile. Now, everything through Facebook is accessed via a personal profile, so that would be yourself, and you would create a business manager, and that business manager would be owned by you. Now, within your business manager, you can obviously add more staff members, and you can give access to other assets within your business manager if that you want that staff member to gain access to. And within business managers are typically ad accounts, Facebook pages, and pixels or data sets. Now, you also have things such as custom audiences. You have things that aren't necessarily mentioned on here, but those are the kind of core things that you're going to need to be able to run ads for your clients. And that is basically two things, which is an ad account and a Facebook page. If you have access to an ad account, and you also have access to a Facebook page, you can then run ads through that ad account. You cannot run ads without access to a Facebook page, because obviously that's what you're going to use when someone goes to your profile or someone sees your ad. That's the profile or page that's going to be associated with those ads. Okay. So we're going to jump into the Ads Manager first. I'm going to walk you through the basics of the business suite, kind of what that looks like, and I'm also going to try and set one up for you guys live so we can kind of go through the process and steps as to what you need to do. So I've gone to business.facebook.com, and it's kind of taken me here, which is it's automatically taken me inside of one of my business managers. If you don't have a business manager yet, what it's going to do is it's just going to take you to a page and it'll say create a business manager, and you're going to follow the same steps that I'm going to follow through. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to go down to create a business portfolio. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it Sam's business manager. I'm going to call it my first name and last name, and put my email address in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on continue or create, which is not letting me do for some reason. Let's have a look. It's because I've got a special character, that's why. So we're going to call it Sam Business Manager. I'm going to go ahead and click create. So I've actually reached my max business portfolio limit because I already have a bunch of business managers already. So we're going to jump into one of the ones I've previously created. But just for reference, you would have to, once you've created your business manager, you shouldn't run into this issue if it's the first time you're doing it, right? So what I'm going to do is just jump into one of my previous business managers I've already created. And what we're going to do is we're going to go down to settings, and I'm going to go into, one second. So if you are used to Facebook ads, you're going to see this a lot of the time, which is essentially the authentication process. You can set up either with the OTP app from Facebook, or you can just essentially connect your phone number with your Facebook account, and it's going to ask you to do this very, very often. And this is, although frustrating, it is actually just a kind of an essential part of running ads on Facebook. It stops people from essentially hacking into your account, spending your budget without your permission. So we're going to go ahead and send the code to my phone, and it's going to come up, and I'm going to authenticate my account with the code that comes up on here. So let's resend that code, and it should come through to my phone. There we go. So we're going to add that code in that I've just had from Facebook. There we go. And this is going to happen to you probably multiple times per day if you're used to running ads on Facebook. So now we are inside of here. This is essentially our business manager profile. Okay, so this is where we kind of connect assets, we add people. So if we see here, you've got users, you've got accounts, and you've got data sources. And these are kind of the three things that I would say are most important when it comes to accessing ad accounts or getting access to ad accounts, creating ad accounts. So we come down to pages. So if we come into ad accounts, this is where I can kind of add ad accounts, other people's ad accounts, or I can create my own. So if I wanted to come in here and click add, I could go ahead and I could create a new ad account. I can name the ad account. I could create choose the time zone. I could choose the currency that I want to run in, and once I click done, the ad account would then populate in here. It would ask me to add a payment method to that ad account and verify that payment method. And once you've done those things, you can now run ads through or via that ad account. So we go to pages, same thing. This is giving us access to the different pages that we have. So if we go under users, you can see people, partners, and this is essentially if you wanted to, for example, give access to another agency, you would do that via their business manager. Okay, so if I go to add, what I can do is I can give partner access to assets, or I can ask a partner to assign you their assets. We're going to go give access to partner. So this is, for example, if you're working with an agency or you're working with a client, and they have their own business manager with their own ad accounts and their own pages, what you would need to do is essentially put their partner, within their business manager, you're going to want to put your own partner ID, which we're going to go through in just a second. You're going to put that partner ID in there, you're going to click next, and you will then be able to grant access to different assets. Now, as I mentioned before, you're going to need ad account and page, and once you've kind of given yourself full access to both of those things and saved it, it's then going to come up in your ad accounts, and it's going to come up in your pages like this. So relatively simple, once you've kind of understood the kind of essence of the business portfolio or the meta suite, and you've realized that, okay, well, once you've got access to the page and once you've got access to the ad account, you can then add people, you can assign, you can manage the access. If I come in here, you can see manage full accounts is already ticked, so that's already done. And sometimes Facebook can be a little bit kind of hit and miss. It's going to ask you to verify. Sometimes things aren't going to work. And sometimes you might need to remove, re-add, and just kind of play around with it till you figure out basically getting access to those two things, the Facebook page and the ad account. Now, if we want to gain access to our partner ID, which is our business portfolio ID, so every business manager inside of Facebook has an ID, and that ID is associated with your access to other people's assets. Now, it's changed a little bit, but if you click on Business Manager here, what this is going to do is going to take you to the old Business Manager settings, because Facebook's always changing its kind of interface and stuff like that. And you scroll down to Business Info here. You can see the partner ID, Business Manager ID is here. All you have to do is copy that, and when you're on the Zoom call with your client, when they're adding partners, like up here, like we talked about, we go to partners, all they have to do is they have to go add partner, give partner access to your assets, paste that partner ID, and that is yours. Click next, and then it can then give access to different assets or different pages within that business manager portfolio. Now, if your client doesn't have a business manager, they can just create one. It's quite easy. And if they already have an ad account and they already have a page, more than likely those pages and ad accounts will automatically sync up to that business manager and be part of one whole kind of business suite. And if they're not, you can go into the client's business manager on a Zoom call, you can go into pages, you can click add a page, and you can click add a page you already own, and I can search for example, any page here. So if I can find a personal page, I've already added these here, you can see them there. But you can essentially search their page, click add, and then that would then be in their business manager. And with ad accounts, if they don't have one, you can add the ad account as we kind of mentioned, or you can go to add and you can click create new ad account. You can give the ad account a name, so we can call it Sam's ad account. This is already in my time zone, but you want to make sure this is in your time zone and in your local currency. We can click next, and you click my business, create, and that should hopefully create the ad account inside of here. There we go. And you can just click on yourself there, click manage ad accounts, click assign, and then it's going to ask you to add a payment method. You can add your payment info, and once you've done that, you can then go through those previous steps of giving yourself partner, going to the partners, adding your partner ID, and then adding that ad account so that you have access to that ad account. Now, the last thing we're going to cover in here is data sources. Now, sometimes you also need to gain access to that client's data sources. If they have a pixel, which we're going to talk about more detail slightly later on in this video. But they've got a Facebook pixel that you need to utilize for your ads, and we're going to talk about pixels later. You just go into pixels, you do exactly the same thing. Sorry, it's moved to data sets. This is what I was talking about earlier. It's kind of moving things around. So it used to be in pixels. For some reason now, it's moved everything to data sets. But all you have to do is exactly the same process, come into data sets, go into assign partners, and do exactly the same process that we just did with your partner ID. Okay, so essentially everything should be managed via your business manager, and access should be granted via partner ID. So hopefully that explains all of those kind of boring bits in detail. And just take your time, work your way around the business manager, get to know it, understand how it works, and eventually you kind of cracked it, and you can have everything stored in here, and it kind of keeps everything separate to your profile, so you're not having to gain access to pages via like friend requests and stuff like that. It's all a bit of a mess. So try and keep everything within a business manager, even if you're running it for your own business and not just for client. For client pages and ad accounts as well. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is pixels. Okay, so we did just come down here into data sets. You can see I've got 2 pixels inside of here, but the best place to kind of manage your pixels is inside of the events manager, which again is kind of part of the business suite. So we're going to go ahead and click in here and open in events manager, and that's going to, as long as we did all the things before with the access, we should have access to those pixels that we need. So you can see in here these different pixels that I've got kind of already set up or preset up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead down here and click add events. I'm going to hit add new integration. I'm going to get meta pixel. I'm going to hit setup. I'm going to get manually add code to your website, and what that's going to do is it's going to give us the pixel code. I'm going to show you in a minute what that all means and how that works. So I'm going to click that and click get started, and it's going to then let me copy the base code. Okay. Now let's quickly talk about what this base code does and how the pixels work. So I've created this little graph for you guys to kind of explain how pixel conversion event tracking works, what it means, and all this kind of good stuff. So we have what's called kind of the main or pixel or the head tag, and that is the one that we've just created inside the events manager. So this is like a long piece of code. If we go back into our events here and just paste this in, it looks a bit like this. It's really long, and what this wants to do is basically go within our head tag of our site. Now all the head tag means is that it's essentially going to be on every single page that we want to track. So independent of whether we want to track leads, whether we want to track scheduled calls or any of that stuff, you need that pixel code installed on your website anywhere. So if we go, for example, and we're using a landing page builder, I'm using Go High Level for this. If you want to get Go High Level, you can get a 30-day trial in the description box down below. But if we've got this funnel, for example, created in Go High Level, well, we need that tag to be on every single page. So the way we do that, and it's more or less the same in any landing page builder, whether you're using ClickFunnels, lead pages, or any other thing similar to that. We're going to go into settings, we're going to go into head tracking code, and we're just going to paste that code into there, and we're going to hit save. Now once that is done, every page that we have within this funnel should in theory have that code installed, and the way to check that is to install what's called the Meta Pixel Helper. You can go to the Chrome store and you can download this for free, and what this does is we go ahead and preview this page. This is going to tell us if our pixel is installed just by clicking on it, and we can see Meta Pixel, we can see the pixel ID is 5354, and we can, or ends in 5354, and we can see page view is being triggered. If we go back into our events manager, and we go back to our, just click continue, go to pixel. Okay, cool, so we've got this, and it ends in 5354. Go back to our page, we can see our pixel ends in 5354. So now we know no matter what we do, and as long as we're using that pixel in our ads, which we'll talk about a little bit later, we are now tracking those users. So we can retarget those users, we can create custom audiences from those users, and everything is pretty much good to go from this point onwards. So now we're going to talk about tracking codes. Now tracking codes are essentially these things here where we kind of track different kind of events, right? And if we go back into our thingy here, like depending on what event we're trying to track, 99% of people watch this video is going to be either like schedule or lead, and essentially we want to basically put that in the confirmation page. So if you think about your funnels, if we've got a two-step funnel, so we've got a landing page, then we collect their data, like their lead data, such as their phone number, email address, or whatever info we need to call that lead. If we collect that on the form, we are then going to need to track the people that hit that confirmation page, right? So as soon as someone lands on this confirmation page, we then know that person is a lead, and therefore we want to track that data with the script tag, and we want to add our lead conversion tag onto that page. Now the way we would do this is we would go to that confirmation page in our page builder, we would go into that page, we would go to tracking of that page, and essentially wants to go in the body of that page, which most page builders will allow you to do within the page builder. But essentially, if you're doing this via WordPress or something else, instead of going in the head tag, which means it goes on every page of the site, it's just going in the body tag, okay? So if we go into tracking codes, which should be somewhere in here we go, tracking code, we can then paste our pixel inside of here. Now, what I've actually done is I've got these saved, and Facebook, it's quite hard to find these codes a lot of the time. Facebook doesn't have an easy resource to find them. So I've actually saved the script tag for lead inside of my kind of notes, and I recommend you guys do the same thing. So essentially the way pixel scripts work is you have script, you have FBQ, open brackets, track, and then basically like this, and then you have your pixel, wherever you're tracking. So if it's lead, you put lead. If it's schedule, you put schedule. And Facebook has a list of kind of like custom events. You can just copy this exact script that I put here. You can save it to your own notes, and you can paste that in here. And once you do that correctly, it's then going to track lead events. So if I click save and then save again, we're going to use our pixel helper again to make sure that is tracking. And although this may seem confusing, as long as you do put it exactly the way it's supposed to be put and you check it, so you preview, and then you click on your pixel helper, it should say tick and lead, and it should again say our pixel ID that we saved earlier. And if you're worried, you can go back into your events manager and just double check that is the correct pixel, and it is, okay? And you can always come back into here. This is just within your events manager and under data sources, and you can go to your pixel, and after you've kind of had that pixel installed for a few days, it should then kind of pull up lead event inside of these events here, and it should tell you like when that was last received, if it's tracking correctly, and all that kind of stuff. But 99 times out of 100, if you set that pixel up correctly and your ad is set up as a lead ad with a conversion event selected, which we are going to cover in this video, it will track inside of Facebook. Now, we're not going to cover any advanced tactics such as like conversions API or anything like that in this video. This is very much a beginner video. If you're running relatively low budgets or like kind of medium budgets, that should pretty much, that the tracking should be accurate enough for it to work for you to be able to optimize your ads effectively. So that is kind of everything you need to know about pixels and how we set those up. Now, one thing to mention, if you're using Facebook lead forms, which we are going to cover in this video, in fact, we're going to actually set up an ad with a lead form in this video, then you don't need to worry about pixels. Okay, Facebook lead forms are inside of the Facebook kind of interface. They are local to Facebook, so you're not taking users to a separate page where you have to track that data. It's all done within Facebook. So if you're using a lead form, you don't need to worry about pixels. So if you're just starting out an ad and you just want to generate some leads, and you're relatively new to all this, you don't want to worry about landing pages, and you're going to use Facebook lead forms, which we're going to talk about in this video, you don't even need to bother worrying about pixel setup or any of that stuff. So now that we've covered pixels, the last thing we're going to cover before we go into building a campaign and setting all that up is going to be custom audiences. Now, custom audiences, again, is found inside of your business portfolio page. We click on these kind of burger bar, which opens everything up. We can go into here and we can find audiences here. So we're going to click audiences. It's going to open us another tab, and it's going to pull up all the audiences that we might have saved within this business portfolio. So you're going to get these options where you can essentially create custom audiences, create lookalike audiences, and create saved audiences. So we're going to focus solely here on lookalikes and custom audiences. So I'm going to quickly explain what a lookalike audience is. So a lookalike audience is where you essentially take a pre-existing audience. That could be a whole bunch of things. That could be a pixel data. So that could be everyone that's landed on your website, as long as you've got the pixel track there like we just went through. It could be anyone who follows you on Instagram. It could be anyone who has liked your Facebook page. It could be anyone who has engaged with your ads, and we're going to go through all the options that you get. But essentially, we're going to create what's called a custom audience, and you don't get to choose the size of this. This is based on the size of the data pool that you've selected. So if, for example, you sent 500 people to your website and you're tracking them, well, then your custom audience is going to be around 500 people. So we can actually create ads and just target these custom audiences that we've created, or we can do what's called a lookalike audience. So the way a lookalike audience works is you create a lookalike audience from your custom audience. I'm going to show you guys how to do that in a second. And essentially you choose between 10 options. You've got a percentage lookalike, so you choose the location. So for example, if we're a UK-based company that we're advertising for, and all of their traffic is coming from the UK, and we're targeting the UK, we're going to choose location United Kingdom, and then we're going to create a lookalike audience, and we get a bunch of different options ranging from 1% all the way through to 10%, okay? And we can either do that as like one audience of 10%, or we can do 10 audiences of 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%. You get the idea. And what this basically says is I want to find people that are within the 1% similarity based on their kind of usage, based on the websites they visit, using the pixel, based on their social media kind of engagement and all this kind of stuff. I want to find the 1% similarity of people within this custom audience. So it's going to take your custom audience and it's going to create a lookalike based on the data on the platform, and it's going to find people that are within 1%. So if you were to take the average 100% of people on the platform, it's going to find the 1% of them that are most similar. Now, obviously, if we're going from 1 to 10%, and we're including everyone from 1 to 10, that audience is going to be 10 times the size. But for every 1%, we get a certain number of people, obviously the 1% that are most similar to that audience, okay? So let's go into our events manager and kind of walk you through creating a custom audience. Now, obviously, to create a lookalike audience, we're first going to need to create a custom audience because, let's change that to lookalike, because a lookalike is created from a custom audience, right? So the first thing we're going to do is come in here, we're going to go ahead and click and create a custom audience. Now we've got all these options here. We've got website, we've got customer list, we've got offline activity, we've got catalog, video, lead form, all these things. So these are basically all the essentially sources that you can use to create a custom audience. Now, website would be based on the pixel data. So if you haven't got a pixel installed anywhere, you may want to not use website yet because you're going to need at least like 100 people to create a custom audience or to create a lookalike audience. And if our custom audience doesn't have at least 100 people in it, then it's obviously not going to be a very good lookalike audience, right? So the larger the data pool, the more Facebook has to play around with. But also, if you've got a client who has maybe like 200 or 300 customers and it has their email addresses, you can download that data. You can go to customer list, you can click next, and you can literally paste that data in here and you can create a lookalike audience from that. What we're going to do for the purpose of this, we're just going to go ahead and use Facebook page. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. I'm then going to select a Facebook page. I'm just going to go with this sample agency that I created, so verified leads. And I've got all these options in here. So you can see you could literally create dozens and dozens of custom audiences if you wanted to. But I tend to go with anyone who's engaged. So let's find it here. So we've got people who have engaged with any post or ad. So that means people who have liked a post, people who have commented on it, have clicked on it. And this is kind of the most kind of general or broad Facebook custom audience you can create. So if I go click that, we've then got our audience retention. So this is essentially the timeline to which we want to create that custom audience from. So if I was to go, for example, 7 days, that would be anybody who has engaged with this post or ad from this page in the last 7 days. If I went 30 days, this would be anyone who's engaged with a post or ad in the last 30 days. You kind of get the idea. Now, if we are advertising products that have this kind of like timeline to them, so for example, products where maybe you're targeting people who are engaged, maybe you're a wedding event planner, or maybe you're targeting people, you're doing boiler installs and you're trying to target people whose boiler is broken down, right? Or maybe people that have a leaking roof. Well, those sorts of things that happen to people in a certain time frame. So we don't want to go 365 days because a lot of the people that maybe needed the product 365 days ago no longer need the product now. So depending on your product, if your product has kind of broad interest, you can go larger. It's going to give you more data. I tend to stick between between 30 and 180 days, depending on the type of product that you're advertising. If you're concerned, just go for 30 or 60 days, something like that. And we're going to call this engaged with Facebook page, posts, 60 days. I tend to not leave a description, but you can if you want to. I'm going to click create audience. It's then going to automatically create my audience, and it's then going to give me an option, hopefully, to create a lookalike audience. In fact, it's created our audience here. If I click into that audience now, I'll tick it, there we go, and click on the dots. We can see we've got create lookalike audience. I'm going to then create that lookalike. And again, we've got engage with Facebook posts, so we can select the audience that we wanted to. I haven't got any other ones, I've only got this one so far, so that's already selected. We're then going to search for countries. Obviously, I'm going to go with UK because this page is mostly UK audience. If your client is based in the US, you're going to want to select United States, depending on where they're based. One thing you don't want to do is if all your data comes from the UK, you don't want to then go and create a lookalike in the US. It's just not going to transition as accurately as if you selected the data from where that person is based or where those people are based. So I'm going to go ahead and select United Kingdom. And then we've got this lookalike audience size. So what I was saying earlier, so we've got a 1% lookalike here. That's going to give us 535,000 people to target. If I was to go to 10% here, it's going to give us 10 times size, it's going to give us 5.4 million. Now, I might want to have 3 audiences to choose from. So I'm going to have a 1%, and I'll test that first, and if that works, then I'll test my 2%, and then my 3%. Obviously the data's gonna get less and less accurate the further down we go, but what you can go ahead and do is just create like 5, and that'll give you 5 different audiences. So the closest 1%, the closest 2%, the closest 3%, and if we wanted to use all 3 of them or 5 of them in one ad set, we could also just select all of those audiences. So I'm gonna go ahead and click Create Audience. Let that load, and you can see now it's saved those lookalikes as custom audiences inside of our audiences section within our business manager. So when we go to come to creating the ad, setting up the ad account, setting up the Facebook ad campaign, when it comes to audience selection in the ad sets, we can then go ahead and select those custom audiences that we've previously created. Okay, cool. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to cover setting up an ad campaign. So we're going to walk you through the easiest way for me to show you all the kind of new updates and what's changed is to just create a campaign, walk through that process, and kind of create our ad from scratch. Now, for this one, we're going to be creating a lead ad. So we're going to be generating leads. I am going to show you all the steps and different options you get when creating an ad account, but we're going to go to this big green button up here, and we're going to go ahead and click Create. Now, we get a bunch of options. In fact, it's asking for account info needed. I believe it's because I haven't added a payment method yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select an ad account that already has all that information added, and we can then just focus there first, but you will need to add a payment method first. And if you haven't added one, to be honest, the easiest way for you to figure out how to do that is just to go to start creating a campaign. If you haven't had an ad account, so you haven't added a payment method, it's just going to prompt you to add one whilst you're creating that ad. Okay, so don't need to worry about trying to find payment settings inside of here. Just go ahead, start creating a campaign. If you haven't added one, it's going to trigger you to add one there. So we're going to go ahead back here, click this big green button. Firstly, make sure that we're in the ad account that we want, the ad account that we're running from by clicking this drop down here. So I'm going to go ahead and click Create, and then we've got these different options. So I'm going to walk you through these step by step, okay? So first of all, we have auction and reservation. Now, I don't know much about this reservation option, but I don't think I've ever used it. You pretty much always want to be using auction, so just select auction here. We've then got our different campaign objectives. We've got awareness, we've got traffic, we've got engagement, we've got leads, we've got app promotion, we've got sales. So awareness, avoid it. Traffic, avoid it. Engagement, pretty much always avoid it. And the reason I say this is because when you're running ads, you pretty much always have an objective, right? Either that's to get more sales to your website, or that's to get more leads. Now I'm focusing on leads for this particular kind of tutorial. Sales would be things such as like an e-commerce site, which we're not going to be talking about. App promotion would be like such as app downloads. If you run an app, you're trying to get people to download the app, you'd want to select that. But Facebook is very good at giving you what you ask for. So if you ask for awareness, it's just going to get you in front of as many people as possible, irrespective of whether they're interested even in your product. If you search traffic, it's going to find people that are most likely to click on ads and land on your site, and it's not going to generate the best quality of clicks. It's not going to necessarily convert those into leads. Engagement, again, is going to find people who want to kind of message your page or engage with your ads or comment on them, but it's not necessarily going to drive leads. So you always want to select the objective that you're aiming to do with ads, and if you're trying to generate leads, you want to select leads. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and select leads. We're going to click continue. And we've got these options here. We've got tailored leads campaign, which essentially is kind of asking Facebook to kind of guide us through the process. Now, if you're watching this video and you're following me, I would just go to manual leads campaign. Facebook is going to try and get you to do this. You can see it makes it all colored and fancy, and it's really trying to get you to select this one. But I found in my experience, not all of Facebook's suggestions are best for you and what you're trying to do. So I tend to still select manual leads campaign. I just like to have full control over whatever it is that I'm trying to set up. So we're going to go ahead and click continue. And it's going to take us straight through to our campaign. So we're going to give our campaign a name first. So we're going to call this Sam's Test Campaign. My best guidance here is to name the campaign something that's relevant to your product. So if you're, for example, running leads to a free trial, or you're running leads to a free quote, you might want to call this, free quote, and you might want to call it the area, UK, or the whatever area it is, and you might want to call it the or type of audience. So whether it's a cold audience, i.e. people who have never heard of you, or whether it's a retargeting audience, you can put that there. So I'm just going to put cold, and then I would usually always put the date. So I'm going to go ahead and put the 4th of 12th, 2024. Okay, so let's just actually do that. So we're going to go ahead and remove that data and put free quote UK cold. We're then going to scroll down here and we've got what's called special ad categories. Now, special ad categories are for like particular types of products. So real estate, housing, social issues such as like electoral campaigns, financial products or services. Most of you guys aren't going to need to select one. You may think, oh, well, if I'm running ads, for example, for a home improvement product, do I need to select housing? The answer is no, you do not. You've got to read these really clearly and look at the examples, and if you do not fit into that categories, you want to leave this unticked, because if you do select a special category, you're going to kind of go through another process of like approval, and a lot of the kind of features are going to be unavailable for you, so just like lookalike audiences and age breakdowns and stuff like that. So just leave this unticked unless you've gone through this and you know for a fact that one of these kind of relates to your business. So scroll down, we've got buying types, auction, which again we covered. We're going to leave that as auction. We've got campaign lead objectives. We've got leads. Again, we kind of always selected that. We're going to select leads. We've got campaign spending limit. Now, you may be tempted to add a spending limit, but I would leave this unticked. We're going to control this manually via setting our budgets on a daily spend or weekly spend. Okay, so just leave add campaign budget spend limit unticked. If you select that, it's going to basically say, hey, you know, I'm going to spend £200, and then after £200, Facebook is going to then kind of turn off your ad campaign. But I prefer to leave things. I prefer to leave things manual, so I'm going to go ahead and untick that. I'm just going to scroll down to Advantage. So the next stage is Advantage campaign budget. Now, what this basically says is, typically with you know, your budget selection, you do that at the ad set level. What campaign budget is going to do is it's going to have the campaign budget set at the campaign level. Okay, so if we just do a little bit of a diagram, explain what that means and how that works. So if we're here, this is an example of what a campaign, an ad set, and ad looks like. So you've got your campaign here, you've got your ad sets here, and you've got your ads here. Now, you never set budget at ad level. Budget always gets set at the ad set level, which is here. Now, what that means is if you had, for example, more than one ad inside of your ad set, Facebook is then going to set that budget and it's going to decide where it's going to spend your money between those two ads. You're kind of leaving it up to the Facebook algorithm, so to speak. But with campaign budget, what you're going to do is it's going to set the budget here, and then Facebook is going to decide where to spend your money amongst your different ad sets that you have inside of your campaign level. Now, I prefer to leave that as ad set budget, at least when you're starting out. Later down the line, when you get more advanced and you want to scale campaigns and you've got proven audiences, you've got proven ad creatives, and you want to let Facebook kind of do whatever it wants with the ads that you've already tested, well, then you can obviously set your campaign budget. We're going to focus today on campaign budget, ad set budget optimization. So we're going to leave campaign budget as off for now, and we're also going to leave A/B test as off for now. This is basically an advanced split testing strategy from Facebook, but if you follow the steps, I'm going to show you how you can split test your own ad sets without needing to do that via the campaign budget, also via the actual A/B testing strategy that's given to you by Facebook. So we're going to hit click next. Now we've got our ad set level. This is where we choose our campaign objective, not so much campaign objective. This is where we choose where we're sending our traffic. This is where we choose what we're going to optimize for, what conversion event we're going to optimize for. So I'm going to go ahead and name this. And because you've got to think about what we're setting here, this is where we're choosing our audiences. So everything's the same from the campaign level, but here we're choosing the audiences that we're going to be targeting. So I might, for example, want to target 30 plus, and I might want to target I don't know, leads. And the date, today's date, so I'm going to put the 4th of 12th, 24. There is no rules to your campaign names, your ad set names. It's just making it easy for you to later on come back into here and understand what's what. Okay, so the key here is just to name these things something that you understand, so you can come back in here at a later stage and see, okay, well, I know that ad set is targeting these people, and I know that has these types of ads inside of it. Okay, so we're going to leave that as ad set name, age and leads and the date. Now here we've got our conversion location. So we've got website. Pretty much always you're going to want to choose either website or instant form, but I'll quickly walk through what these are. So website is using the pixel. That is where we're sending traffic to a landing page or a website, and we want to use our pixel conversion event like we covered earlier to track the leads that are being tracked on our site. Okay, website and calls is essentially the same as this, but you also want to track calls. In 99% of cases, I typically just choose website if I'm using website conversion events. And then we've got instant forms, which you're actually going to choose. This is to generate leads by asking people to fill in a form, which is hosted on Facebook, and it allows you to create the form inside of your ad manager. So we're going to select instant forms for this one. Messenger and Instagram and WhatsApp, they basically are messenger campaigns where if someone clicks on it, it takes them straight through to a message on Facebook, allows them to message a page, which can be pretty good depending on what you're trying to do. I tend to prefer instant forms, but it's again up to you what you want to do, and you can always test them side by side if you so wanted to do that. And then we've got Instagram, which is the same thing as Messenger, but it's just starting chats on Instagram. We've got WhatsApp and we've got calls. Now, if you're doing Messenger or Instagram, you obviously want to select those locations, which we can do inside of our ad set, which we're going to go through in just a moment. So I'm going to select lead forms or interim forms for now. We're then going to want to select our page. I'm just going to leave this as my page for now, but if you click here, it's going to show you all the pages that you have access to, and you can select a particular page that you want to run those ads from. If you want to connect your Instagram account, you can actually do that inside of the business. Where we were earlier, when we were adding ad accounts and pages, there will be a section there which will say Instagram accounts, and you can connect that Instagram account, and essentially you can then run ads via Instagram and Facebook. Now, if you don't connect the Instagram account, that's okay. You can still run ads on Instagram. It will just say, it will just have your Facebook page name and Facebook profile image. If anyone clicks on it, it's just going to come up with and say, essentially it's going to say like ran by this Facebook page, and it's not going to be able to go through the Instagram account. So it's up to you if you choose to connect those two things together. Performance goal, we always pretty much keep this as maximized number of leads. I tend to do this, and later on I'm going to show you how we can try to increase the quality of those leads to our form, but we're going to go ahead and select the max number of leads. Cost per result goal, this is essentially like a bidding strategy. You might be thinking, well, I'm going to set this to £1 because then I'm going to get leads for £1. It doesn't work like that. If you put this too low, Facebook's basically not going to spend your budget because it doesn't think it can get you results for the amount that you put in there. So when you're first starting out, I would just leave this as blank. It is optional. I tend to just leave it as blank and then wait and see, down the line when you get more advanced Facebook, you can start setting cost per result goals. I tend to pretty much always leave it blank, however. Delivery type, leave this as standard. Dynamic creative, I tend to leave this off and tend to do all my controlling inside of the ad. But essentially this is like, basically what it does is, it's like a combination of like changing up your images and your headlines, and it's going to create like variations of those three things. But I tend to just leave this as off as a kind of default. And if they come down to budget and schedule, we've got two options here. We've got a daily budget, we've got a lifetime budget. Now, I prefer to select a daily budget. What that means is you're going to tell Facebook, I'll spend £20 per day, and that's going to be about £140 per week. However, Facebook has kind of, essentially like a kind of more relaxed attitude to daily spending. So if you set a budget of £20, it's going to then put that as a weekly budget, and some days it might spend £30, some days it might spend £10, but it's going to balance out over a 7-day period. So if you're spending £20 per day, but your ad set spends £26 per day, don't stress about it. It will balance out over a 7-day period. So just leave that as whatever budget you're willing to spend. So I'm going to set this as £10. And obviously if you're testing multiple ad sets, this is done on per ad set level. So if you've got 3 ad sets and they're all set as £10 each, obviously you're going to have to bear that in mind, that is going to spend £30 per day because it's across 3 ad sets. Start date, leave this the same. Budget and scheduling, leave all this blank. You don't need to worry about this stuff, especially when you're starting out. And then we're going to come down to audience controls. Now there's one thing within audience controls that's very, very important, and that is called original audience or Advantage Plus audience, okay? Now what this basically means is Advantage Plus audience, where you have much more limited control over who you're targeting, and you say to Facebook, hey, go and find more users that are similar to these ones that I've given you here, and you're kind of leaving it up to Facebook to find out who to target. Now, if you're running big national campaigns targeting the whole of the country, you can leave this as Advantage Plus audience. If you run a local business or brick and mortar business where you have to target people that are within, for example, a 20-kilometer or 20-mile radius, you can normally come down here and select switch to original audience plus. So original audience targeting, and that's where you have full control over your audiences. You can come in here, you can search for a custom audience. We can choose one of those lookalikes that we chose earlier. For this, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to choose my location. So I'm going to choose London. Let's say, for example, I wanted to choose, I don't know, let's just choose a random area. We'll call Cambridge. We can then select Cambridge, United Kingdom. There we go. It's going to then put a radius around Cambridge. We can then select our distance. So for example, if we want to go to 20 kilometers, we can select 20, and it is limiting to 17. But if I do drop a manual pin like this, I can actually take that lower if I so want to. And as you're doing these changes, you're going to get this on the side, which is going to say estimated audience size. You want to keep this as large as possible. The bigger the audience, the more Facebook has, more kind of control Facebook has in controlling who is seeing your ad. And you're going to get these warnings, which is like ad set may get 0 leads, but you kind of want to just ignore this. It's not, particularly accurate 200,000 to 240,000. It is enough people to target if we're spending, 20 to 50 pounds per day. As long as we're not spending huge amounts of money, that is enough. We've then got age, and for example, if you're selling home improvements products or whatever it might be, you kind of want to select the age categories that are relevant to your product. But just don't go and select like 30 to 35. Give it, let Facebook do its thing. The algorithm is quite smart, so it should be able to figure that stuff out on itself. So we're going to select 20, just going to leave 25 to 65 plus. Genders, I'm going to leave all genders, but if you have a product such as a salon, which is gender specific, you could obviously target specific genders there too. Detailed targeting, this is basically going to say reach people beyond your target selected audience. However, remember, if we're targeting local, we want to leave this unticked. If we aren't targeting local, we've got like a really broad area that we can target. You can leave this ticked as well. And then we're going to scroll down to placements. Now, placements is where your ad is going to get seen. Now, if we're running a Instagram specific messenger campaign, for example, we would want to actually come down here, edit these locations, and click edit here. We can choose manual placements, and then we can select just the Instagram ones. Like here, we can untick Facebook, and we can just select Instagram. But if you're just running lead ads, I tend to just leave this as Advantage Plus placements, and that's going to let Facebook choose where it's going to show your ads and who to. So we click next. We're now in the ad set level. So again, you want to name your ad something that's relevant. So maybe it's an image ad, you might want to call it image. Maybe it's, you've got 3 variations of primary text, you might want to put copy 1, and you've got 3 headlines, you might want to put headline 1, okay? And then you come down here, and you've got this option here to use Instagram account. Now it's telling me here your ad must be associated with an Instagram account. Choose an Instagram account, so I'm just going to go down here. I've already connected mine up, but if you haven't connected yours up, it should just allow you to run from the page, which is, because I've connected mine, it's wanting me to do this. And then we've got our create ad section here. We've got single image or video. We've got carousel. Carousel is basically like this, where you're going to basically click add preview here. You're basically going to be able to see, it's going to be like a carousel of images so they can swipe through them. I tend to just stick to single image or video, but you can select carousel if you want to have like multiple, if you've got multiple products or multiple images that show your product, you can test some carousel ads as well. Multi-advertiser ad is basically, it's going to show your ad alongside other ads. So there might be a carousel of ads and your ad's going to show alongside them. I tend to turn it off. It's up to you. You probably get slightly more impressions if you leave it on, but I just don't want my ads like just kind of swallowed up with other people's ads, so I'm going to untick that. And then we've got our ad creator section now. Compared to last year, they've now changed this, and it now has like this kind of whole process. If I go ahead and click set up creative, I've got to choose image or video. So if I go ahead and click image ad, I can then go through the process of setting up my creative. So I can get primary text, and I can put my ad copy goes here. I can put headline, I can put, just close that for a second, I can put my ad headline goes here. And then what it's going to do is it's going to use AI, and it's going to give you a bunch of what's called Advantage Plus text generations. Now, if you're just starting out, I would leave this. I wouldn't worry about this for now. But what this basically does is it's going to create a bunch of pre-generated AI headlines that you can use as you can basically add these in, and it's going to test them alongside your primary headline. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to untick them for now. That's probably another video where I will talk about Advantage Plus text. So put headline goes here, and then description is what's going to come. I tend to leave that blank, but that's what's going to come up below your link. So you can put get a free quote, for example. The last thing to talk about is we've got our call to action button. If in doubt, just select learn more. It's just the most inoffensive button text, and it tends to kind of cover all bases. So I tend to just leave mine as learn more, but you've got all these suggestions to just download, get offer, get quote, sign up. I tend to just leave it as learn more. So we can go ahead and click next. We're now going to be able to upload our media. So before we do that, I'm going to jump into Canva, where I've kind of pre-made a few ad creatives. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to download this one that I've created earlier. I'm just going to do this HVAC product just as an example. So I'm going to click download. I'm going to select that page, download that page, and I'm going to upload that ad into my ad creative section. So I'm going to click upload. I'm going to download that image, upload that in, and now we've got our ad image that we wanted to replicate across. So we can click next. Now we have different placements. So we've got these 3 placements. Now if you can't be bothered, you can just click next, and it's just going to fill that space like this. It doesn't look quite as cool, but if we wanted to, we could actually optimize these placements. So if I go into Canva and I go to resize, I want to go to Instagram story. I can go to copy and resize. It's going to then create a version of that. And once that's loaded, we can open that up. We can then go to our ad that we created just now, and we can actually pop that there, and we can actually optimize this placement so it looks a little bit better for that placement. And we can just go down here and we can, like this, and we can actually optimize the ad placement like this. We can download that, current page, download, and then we can go into our ads manager with our downloaded image. Hopefully it's downloading now. There we go. We can click replace, we can upload, and we can upload our image that is optimized with that kind of, those dimensions. So we click that, click next. If we wanted to do that the same thing for the horizontal, we could with this ratios. I'm just going to leave it as original for the purpose of this video, but you can see how that looks much, much cleaner inside of an Instagram story ad or a Facebook story ad or even a reel, okay? If we click next, I tend to skip this. It's got all these AI features. I tend to just skip this one. This is basically asking Facebook, do you want us to generate variations of your image? We can click it, see what comes up, but most of them are going to look pretty bad. Let's see what it comes up with. It's just generating variations, but it's taking its time. I may just skip this and come back to it later. Let's have a look what it says, generating variations. There we go. So you can see these variations, very strange, which is why I tend to skip it and just continue. So we're just going to click skip and continue. And then we've got what's called ad optimizations. Now, Facebook's going to pre-select a bunch of these kind of optimizations. Now, I generally turn these off except for a few exceptions. Music, it will play like a random song over your ad. Sometimes the song is good, sometimes it's bad. It's up to you. I'm going to leave it on for now. We've got ad overlays. I don't like this. This is where it puts your headline over the image, so I tend to turn this one off. I like to have control over how my ads look. We've got visual touch-ups, which is pretty inoffensive. It's basically like filters and stuff that where it thinks your Facebook ad is going to look or perform better. So you can leave that one on. And text improvements is basically, it might move your headline to here, it might move this to here. And that's quite useful because if you're running Instagram ads, the placements on different platforms are different. So I tend to leave text improvements on, but it depends how much control you want to have over your ads. You can leave that on or off. It's really up to you. Other than that, I tend to keep everything else off. And we're going to go ahead and click done. And once we do that, our ad is now fully set up and kind of essentially ready to go. And what we can do is we can preview the different placements here, and we can see what our ads can look like in these different platforms and placements. And we can kind of potentially see how it's going to look. So it looks like that is actually pretty good. I'm not really sure about this one here, but if I look at my previews here, it is previewing correctly there and there. So I think that is correct. So we're gonna go down here and we're gonna go straight down to our lead form. I'm gonna go ahead and click create form. Now, it will automatically create you one. All you have to do is fill in the details. You can name it, so you can call it Sam's form. I tend to hit high intent because that just gives you slightly high quality of lead. Basically adds another page where the user can essentially confirm their information before they submit it. So I tend to just hit higher intent, but you do have this cool feature now called rich forms, which gives you kind of more customization over your form. If you're new, just select high intent. We're gonna hit click next. And we're gonna click background image on, and you can either upload an image or it will just use, in most instances, it will just use the image that you've selected in your ad. If you don't put an image here, in fact it's doing this by default for me now. So you can see here the image creative using your ad will appear here. We can then add a greeting, such as a headline, so we can put, for example, get your free HVAC quote today. And then we can put a paragraph or list, so we can put, for example, quote within 24 hours, Black Friday sales now on, and we can put rated 5 out of 5 on Google. Right, you can put up to 5 benefits or bullet points, okay? So let's hit next, and we can then ask our question. So default is gonna collect full name and email address. However, you can add more, so we can add contact fields, phone number, we can add contact fields, postcode, and this is pretty much the 4 that I tend to always collect. And you can put in here, please let us know how we can contact you. There we go. And then you can add as many questions as you want to. So you get all these options, you've got sliders, you've got multiple choice. So you could say, for example, slider, you could say, how much is your electricity bill? And you could put left-hand side, you could put £0. Let me put the pounds option. You can put right-hand side, 120. 200, and they could slide it, or we could just bin that off, and we could just add a question, we can put multiple choice, we can put how much is your electricity bill, and we could put 0 to 50, we put per month, we could put 50 to 100, you get the idea, and you can add as many options as you want, and you can add a whole bunch of questions. I tend to have maybe three or four questions, just simple ones that the user can answer to kind of pre-qualify your leads a little bit heavier. Click next. You then got a privacy policy link, so whatever your client's privacy policy is in a site, you can just put that there. So if I just go to my Agency Club website, grab the, I'm not going to do the privacy policy now, I'm just going to grab the URL for now. You can just put that link there, and you can put privacy policy here. And if you don't have a privacy policy, you can create one. You should have one there, like it's Facebook policy to put it in there. You can just put the site, again, it is Facebook policy to have a privacy policy in there. But again, you can usually get that from a client, or you can easily create one using ChatGPT and stick it on a page, and then you can use that as well. And then we've got review end screen, which is like this page here where they slide to submit their info, click next. And then you can put a confirmation page where you can put a note, you can put a call to action, so you could ask them to call them, or you could ask them to go to a website. You kind of, it's basically by this point you've already got their data, and you can then, they can just tell them what to do next if there's something else that you would like them to do. So we're going to go ahead and click, oh, we need to put a website, so I'm just going to paste that in there again. We will call you on number provided. I'm going to click and quick create form. Okay, so that is now how we set up our ads. We've kind of covered all those bases. If we go ahead and click publish, that is now going to turn that ad on, all going well. And if we're not ready to launch it yet, we want to add more test variants in, we want to test more audiences or ads, then what we're going to need to quickly do is just go back to our campaign and just untick on off, so then we can see if it's live or not live, so we can turn it back on again when we're ready to go. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to jump into a campaign that I've already been running and show you kind of how I do my kind of split testing approach, how I test different audiences, what that looks like with the columns and stuff like that. Okay, cool. So this is a campaign that I've been running for a little while now, and if we go inside it here, you can see at the top is this one here. You can see that the reporting is accurate. We've been using that pixel with the website complete registration as our script, and you can see that that is now tracking inside of Facebook. Now, what I've done here is I've got a whole bunch of ad sets live, and I'm basically following my testing approach, which I'll try to leave a link to down below. If not, you can go to my YouTube channel and find my ad testing approach that I typically use. But I'm using this same approach here, where what I do is I just have one ad in each one of my ad sets, targeting all the same audience usually, or multiple audiences if you want to. And I essentially am testing multiple ads at the same time. So you can see inside of here, these are all performing differently. If we go to this and search for highest to lowest, we can see which ones are performing the best, and it's telling us how much it's costing us in each one of these ad sets on a per lead basis. And if I select all of these and go to ads, you can see I'm testing different images and different headlines in each one of these, just to kind of see which one is more than likely or most likely to perform the best. And what I can do is I can go ahead and turn off the ones that aren't performing well by just clicking off this on switch here. And it allows us to test multiple things at the same time. So it's super, super useful. And that is typically the way I test my ads. If I've got, for example, like once I've tested maybe 10 creatives and I want to then combine those into one ad set, I could just go back to campaigns. I could create a new campaign. I could create one ad set and I could combine all of those ads in the ad set and then let Facebook rip, let it do it once and figure out. But like for testing, I like to split test mine by split testing at the ad set level, because what that means is your budget is actually being split and you're spending an equal amount on each ad and you're truly split testing it. If you put all of your ads in one ad set and the budget is controlled at the ad set level, Facebook's going to choose where to spend your budget, and it's not really going to split test because it's not going to actually spend an equal amount on each ad. So in the early days, that's the testing method I like to do. If you want to learn more about my testing strategy and get my full course, I will leave a link down below to the school group where you can join and gain access to the Meta Ads Vault, and you can learn all this stuff and much, much more. Okay, cool. And the last thing we're going to talk about in this tutorial is column breakdown. So we see here, when we're in our ads manager, it's really important that we can see what's going on. So we basically need to know how many leads or registrations or whatever we're tracking we have, how much we've spent on an ongoing basis, how many link clicks and this kind of stuff. So the best way to find out or to have that information at like an eye's glance and where you can see it easily is just coming down to columns and clicking on what we call here custom columns. And then you can basically choose what you want to see by just dragging it in here. So for example, if we want to see leads, We can find leads, we can select that. We can unselect it, we can select it, and we can put it down here. We can select our cost per lead, we can put it down here. We can select our CTR, link click-through rate, we can select that and put it down here. And then what we can do is we can kind of organize these columns however we want them to. So we can move this data around, and wherever you put this stuff here is where it's gonna save inside of your ads manager whenever you come in. So we're gonna go ahead and click save to that, and that's gonna save that data. So whenever we come into our ads manager, that information is gonna be there for us to be able to see. So we can easily see which ad sets, which ads are performing the best, which ones are driving the most leads, because we can come over and go to our results, cost per result, and we can see that data easily at an eye glance, and we can start to optimize. And we can either go to date range, and we can go today, or we can go last 7 days, and we can see the data as and when we need to and help us optimize our campaigns. So I hope you enjoyed that video. Hopefully you enjoyed it enough to hit subscribe. I'm going to be releasing a lot more Facebook ad content. If you've got specific questions that weren't covered, you can leave a comment down below and I'll make a future video around that topic. I've tried to cover all the basics and the updates and the changes since last year. However, if you want to access my last year's tutorial, I'll leave a link to that one down below as well. Thanks for watching the video. Please drop a like, and as always, thanks for being here, and I'll see you guys in the next video.